Welcome. This is the Age of Conspiracy podcast. I am your host, the Guru. Today we will be discussing alien abduction and the apparent stigma surrounding its taboo nature, regardless of the evidence that has been brought to the forefront. Our own world leaders admitting to some capacity that we aren't alone. We've all looked up in the sky and wondered, is this a planetarium? What's a shooting star? Who created the planet? If you don't ask those questions, no one will. It seems we've been desensitized to the thought of extraterrestrial life, as if we aren't aliens in the grand spectrum. Entertainment has almost made a joke out of alien abduction, and I'm here to tell you, there's nothing funny about it. With that said, you are listening to an abductee, and I'm going to tell you my story. You're entitled to your opinion, and I welcome it. You know, I once heard that UFO stood for unfunded opportunity. And at the time, I didn't fully realize what that meant. However, it reminded me of what Steven Spielberg said once he released Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. He apparently received a 28-page dossier on what he needed to change in the movie. Afterwards, he said, once I received this paperwork, I knew it was real. If you psychoanalyze the end of that movie, I'm here to tell you, he was in the know. Just like when George Lucas created Star Wars and the creator of Star Trek. These men blatantly came out and said, we had info that wasn't privy to the public. For example, it has been well known for some time the 411 was the people that were abducted that were German, very high IQs, and had negative blood. Furthermore, the story of Betty Hill and her husband being abducted in the Appalachian Mountains. Once put under hypnosis, Betty drew out a binary star system called Zeta Reticuli. Now, this just so happens to be the same star system that Bob Lazar mentioned when he was debriefed at Area 51. Another event that has to be brought to the forefront is the fact that merely 2 months after Roswell, the Air Force branched off as its own entity from the Army. And what do you know? The CIA was also created in that span of time. A man named Dr. Greer, who started CERN, the Hadron Particle Accelerator, has been involved with First Contact for longer than I've been alive, and he has several documentaries, one called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. With that said, Dr. Greer has on camera contacted beings that seem to come in and out of our dimensional plane at will. Dr. Greer does this in hopes of changing people's opinion towards alien discovery. Basically saying that for half a century, we've been given a false narrative. Almost as if the alien conspiracy has been used as a fear tactic to keep us grounded. I personally think it's all misdirection. the truth is much stranger than fiction. Truth be told, I could go on for another hour regarding the amount of evidence that has piled up over the past 100 years, directly correlated with human abduction. Yet to get a validated doctor to admit it's happening, you'd have to venture to the farthest reaches of the doctoral college. Our genes may be the key to understanding the universe. And it just so happens that roughly 7% of the world has negative blood. Now, the other 93% have what's called the rhesus monkey gene. I can give my O negative blood to everyone. No one can give blood to me. That in itself is an oddity. And it has something to do with the abduction rate. If you look at the overabundance of people that have this blood type, the negative factor, that are taken in their sleep or have dreams their entire life of being on other planets, doing things that they cannot comprehend in the physical world. We are interacting with an intergalactic technology that may be hundreds of thousands of years in advancement compared to us. We need to ask the real question. Has this happened before? Do we have proof that technology may not be the way of the future? Once again, I'm reminded not to reference movies more than I should. However, it's all relevant. Now, this pertains to Stanley Kubrick's Odyssey 2001, which was filmed years before the moon landing. We have to look at HAL, and I mean HAL. It's the reason we still send dogs and monkeys into space. We still don't trust robots to test run rockets. Nuclear power itself seems to be from another world. Von Braun admitted that they had help in splitting the atom, as if humans couldn't conceptualize what it would take to create such destruction on an inhumane level. It's fascinating where we are technologically as opposed to 100 years ago, going from no electric to a smartphone. And it reminds me of what SMART stands for: secret, military, antiquated, residential technology. I want to thank you for joining me. This is The Guru. With that being said, I will now tell you the events that took place in my home 3 years ago. Let me preface this by saying, even as a child, I was infatuated with the stars. It seemed to me as if flying was supposed to be natural. I would have dreams of doing whatever I wanted. And then there were other dreams, but there were always these 2 3-foot beings that at the time I thought were a part of my imagination. Until I grew older and the dreams became more vivid. And I realized, waking up in the middle of the night speaking languages fluently that I had never heard, I was astroplaning. I had done it during the daytime. I could do it almost at will. Completely leave my body. Telling anyone this would lead to ridicule, of course, so I kept it to myself. as so many other experiences. And then it seemed like I was seeing the future. You know, deja vu is one thing. Actually seeing the future is another. Before things happen, I mean, even if it was just 30 seconds, I was seeing a full optical representation of the exact scenario, hearing a full sentence fragment, and then someone coming up to me and saying that exact thing. This was happening more often, to where I was asking myself if this had all happened before. It has to have, for me to see what I see. You know, crazy people don't know they're crazy. And you will question your sanity, no matter who you are, when things of this nature begin to manifest themselves. The older I got, the more intense the apparitions would get, to the point of reality being indistinguishable from this higher dimension I found myself intertwined with. I can only describe it as pure love, almost as if the natural essence of Earth was showing itself to me in the rawest form. I always described it as a goddess because I could see a silhouette of light with a color spectrum undescribable, and the vibe of a nurturing mother. There's really no way to experience this without almost completely detaching yourself from modern day life. I digress. Years into this enlightenment, I discovered that the pineal gland and pine trees have this autonomous genetical parallel. The evergreen that we bring into our homes at the end of the year to celebrate Earth. This led me to truly becoming one with nature. It was compelling. I understood my purpose, and at the same time realized that everything I had been taught up to that point was indoctrination in one form or another, taking me away from spiritual enhancement. All I ever had to do was look up. The everyday technology had me so zombified, looking down into an abyss of nothingness. It was as if I could hear for the first time. I could see for the first time that I was in a zoo. And it was made for me not to see it. From then on, nothing was the same. Light sensitivity, eating habits, what I liked and disliked, the way I pictured myself looking up at the sky was totally different. As if I could see for sure that I lived in a simulation that other people couldn't see. Truth is, I questioned if I even actually existed at all. And then it happened. I woke up one morning and ran into my nightstand that was essentially 3 or 4 feet from where I normally would be. And at that moment was flooded with 1,000 memories, debilitating me at the same time. It became very clear at that moment that I had been abducted the previous night. Now, when I first woke up, I didn't remember anything. It wasn't until I hit that nightstand. So I don't know if it was intentionally left there. To this day, I don't know. However, I do know what took place the previous night, and it'll forever haunt me. If you've ever had the dream of falling, that's where it started. Except I woke up levitating off the edge of my bed, stiff as a board. And as I woke up from that feeling of falling, I was standing still. I was standing straight up, looking directly at them in my hallway. They were barely as tall as the doorknob of the closet. I remember this. And simultaneously, I'm looking at both of them. They were cloaked. I don't know what color their skin was. I do know that I could see the glint of their pupils, and that's it. And I was so afraid. I was so afraid that I attempted to scream. And at that moment, everything turned white. And then I woke up. I know this sounds far-fetched. Believe you me. When those memories, thousands of memories, flooded my mind, there's no way for me to describe the feeling of helplessness, as if life is but an experiment, as if we're hamsters in a terrarium. Now, I don't want to believe that. Who would? I gotta tell you though, I've seen it. Why hasn't full disclosure taken place? Why are we acting as if this isn't real? Have we traded technology for human lives? Are robots the ones doing this? Ladies and gentlemen, this is human trafficking on a mass scale. World peace is attainable. We must never forget the ultimate goal: eternal love.